Hi there, my name's Linnea and it's time for another book to screen. Now this time we'll be talking about all things Wicked. Now I work in musical theatre, so this is a little bit special to me, and we will be talking about the show as well and draw some parallels and comparisons there. But I'm going to read the book. I have tickets to see the movie, and afterwards I'll give you my reaction, like my first reaction, and then we will be discussing, all of it. Yeah, so that's what we're doing. Here we go. I'm sorry. I was not prepared for the language of this book. I mean, from the musical, we know the mom has an affair. Multiple, apparently. But there are some choices. Like Uncle Flagpole? I mean, I guess you could call it that. I've made it past what is the prologue in the musical, and well, that felt wildly different. But of course, it's a prologue and it's in musical theater. You can't just have everything in there, and maybe you shouldn't. I don't know. It can't be, of course, as long as a movie or a book. The initial feeling is that this is going to be quite different, and I don't know, it just feels fun and interesting to me. Now I'm on the chapter where Glinda is going to Chiss. Still doing construction work here, so sorry if that's a bother. Time to do some other stuff and then come back to reading later. Just got home from work. The last couple of days I've been reading mostly at night before I go to sleep. I think I'm like 100 pages in now. I've read some chapters from Galinda's perspective and now it's Bach's perspective. And it's interesting to get a sense of what Elphaba thinks about Glinda and how Glinda thinks. She talks about how she is a thinker and she can be a thinker if she wants to, but then she slips back into something else that she's like been taught to be almost. And that feels very much spot on when it comes to Glinda. I just got home. I'm a bit tired because I started work at 6 in the morning. Not a morning person. Not at all. Yeah, so I'm just gonna pop on the couch and start reading. Okay, so I had an idea that when I got home from work today, I would film a bit about how far I've gotten in the book and what I think of it so far. I'm like right at the point where Act 1 finishes and Act 2 is about to start. But I came home. I took a shower, took a nap, and now I don't have time because I'm all ready for the movie. So I'm just gonna go now, watch the movie. I'm gonna give you my reaction, and at some point, I'm gonna talk about the book. that's the plan. So wish me luck. Back from the theater, let's talk about this movie. There were some high highs and some lower lows. I felt that this was a little bit more of a roller coaster quality wise than the first movie. I loved the first movie, and there were definitely parts of this that I really enjoyed, but let's dive into what I didn't quite like first. So there are a couple of new songs in this movie, and I didn't really feel that they were necessary, and they were often a bit on the nose, lyric wise. Like, we get it anyway. There were one of Glinda's songs that I felt that if they had just kept it really short, it could have worked, but it dragged on for a little too long for my taste. And I felt that some of the nuance of this musical was just printed in black and white instead in these songs. But of course they sang them really beautifully and they acted them really beautifully. I just didn't feel that they were necessary for the story. I wouldn't have minded this film being a lot shorter than the first one, actually, because that's usually the case actually with the first act and the second act. The second act is usually a bit shorter. Okay, what else? The opening number. Thank Goodness is one of my favorite songs from the original. It just has a lot of layers, and I felt that it didn't really come to its own right in the way that they chose to do it in the movie, how they filmed it. Very close up, like we were gonna be in Glinda's head. And for me, watching it on stage with her singing in front of this crowd, trying to keep up appearances, and also feeling like, was this actually worth it? Am I really happy in getting everything I wanted? And how does that taste? Like how it has a bit of a bitter taste to it, but you still want her to try to keep her appearance up and her spirits up, and being so close and in her face with the camera, it kind of took away from that for me a little bit. I want that crowd. I want to see her really fighting with these emotions, whilst also fighting with being in this very public place. I mean, she sang it beautifully, so it's not that I just felt that it was like a director's choice almost. The song didn't really live up to its potential in that way for me. I quite like the behind the scene thing with Fiero and Glinda, like, more than I like the song, and for me that says a lot with it being one of my favorite songs. Also, I'm going to talk a lot about the songs, and because musical theater, but I'm also going to talk about one of my pet peeves. I'm a bit allergic to this in movies overall, and that's using too many special effects. Like, it was like they brought out let's bring the big guns, and I just felt that they overdid it a little bit. We didn't need a lot of chase scenes, and we didn't need like her flying all the time, and like how they used it in As Long As You're Mine. For me, that song is supposed to be like really raw and just passion and desperation combined. Like, they're finally being together, but they're also like desperate because they don't know how long it's gonna last. And I want to feel that in that song, and it just felt that they were leaning on like her taking them up in the air and all of these. We didn't need the fluff. I just wanted them to like sing it to each other, and they did that so well later in the film, and I just wish that they had kept it like that in As Long as You're Mine as well. So that also felt more of a director's choice. I mean, for me, otherwise, like Jonathan Bailey can have like, he can have chemistry with like a paperclip, and Cynthia is amazing. So it felt more of like how they chose to do that scene. Those were a couple of letdowns for me, but oh my god, No Good Deed. It was just so good, so good. Like, how can she sing so, making it sound so effortlessly? It's so impressive. She's so, yeah, I was blown away, and it was just cheering and clapping in the theater. It was just amazing. And I also felt like everything coming together with the effects and her flying and everything, it really worked in that scene and for that song. So I wish that they hadn't used it as much before, that they had really chosen it to be special for those kind of occasions and not used it as an effect as they did in As Long as You're Mine. But it was so, everything was so good in No Good Deed. Oh my god. Also, I really loved For Good. That was a moment that I thought they did all the right choices, keeping it very scaled down, very simple, just singing it to each other. It was really, really beautiful. And Cynthia and Ariana singing together, I'm saying so good a lot, but it was just so good. Their voices together, their timing, their chemistry, they're just such an amazing team. It's like you can perceive the same bond that you got from the original cast as well. So yeah, so those were some of like the big moments of highs and lows. I feel like I'm probably gonna rewatch the first movie a lot more than the second one, but there are parts of the second one that I'm going to watch like 1,000 times for sure. I'm 40% into the book, and I got up to, as I said, like almost where we leave them in Act 1. I'm not quite sure what we're going to get in the next couple of chapters. They're going to take place in Emerald City, so I haven't read the book before, so I'm not quite sure, but it felt like it was around where Act 1 finishes off. We're going to discuss some things where the movie connected to the book that I really enjoyed, and some other stuff as well, going more in depth with like the characters and the side characters as well, not just like Glinda, Elphaba, and Fiero. Is there anything else I want to say? Like, it was still wicked, and it was still going to the cinema with my friends, going to, talk in depth about the movie afterwards and the show in general, and it was just like an amazing night. So I'm really happy you were here for that as well. And we're going to talk more about the book. I'm going to finish the book as well, and give you all my thoughts in the end, connecting the movies, the book, the show, everything. So I think that's it for now. I'm gonna chill a little bit, calm down, go to bed, read a little bit more, and then go to work again tomorrow. And as soon as I get an opening, I'm here to discuss the book. See you then. Okay, one more thing. It's important. A huge shout out to the ensemble, because they were incredible. in both movies. Incredible ensemble. That's it. And we're back. So I've been a busy little bee. It's been a couple of days since I sat down and gave you my reaction, my first reaction to the movie. And yeah, I've been to Stockholm rehearsing for gigs. I am now in Gränna doing Christmas gigs. Gränna is this beautiful little town known for its hard candy done in a like traditional way. Hey, why don't I just show you what I've been up to? I'll give you a little montage of my Stockholm and Gränna days. So yeah, roll the tape. We're back, and I've got my notes on my little computer. So let's just dive into it, and we'll see how far we go now, because I have to get ready for tonight's gig in a little while. But I thought we'd make a start. So, okay, the book. Well, the book is very different in a lot of ways. It's much darker. There are more of the political aspect. In the book, we get to read from different point of views. That includes Glinda, Bach, and Fiyero, which I did not expect. We have the big time jumps that we have in the movie, and I mean even more so than we have in the movie and the show. Okay, so to the more political side, the oppression from the wizard, it's like quite clear from the beginning, and it's very clear that the wizard and Madame Warble is on the same team, and they're not very good people. We also see more organized activism, and I quite liked that. In the movie and the show, Elphaba feels so alone in fighting back in a way, but here we see her and Bach teaming together to try and help out Dr. Dillamond and the other animals, and we see a deeper friendship between them as well. The first angle is to try and find like scientific evidence that they can hand to the wizard and be like, hey, look at this, there aren't that many differences between us. And that feels very young and naive, but it also comes from Dr. Dillamond. It mirrors that sad aspect of our own time, where it should be enough with evidence, and it should be enough with just compassion, really, but it just isn't. And it's a hard pill to swallow. They want to fight the authoritarian leadership with facts, and yeah, very relevant theme for today. But later we also see Elphaba involved in some kind of movement that is trying to resist the wizard, working secretly at a secret network in the background. This obvious right in your face about who the wizard is and what he and people like Madame Warble are up to. In the musical, that is more veiled. It gets revealed. They still pin a lot of hope to the wizard, and then it gets revealed that he's this terrible guy, or maybe a puppet for other people. Right from the beginning, the stage is set very differently, I would say. When we meet them, Galinda's loathing for Elphaba seems to come and go in a way, and Elphaba's loathing doesn't seem to be as present as it is in the movie or the show. It doesn't seem like mutual in the same way. What is this feeling? That's one of my favorite parts of the first movie. Me and my niece and my nephew, we have watched that clip 1,000 times. I just love it. But yeah, that doesn't seem to be as present. Elphaba seems more understanding about why Glinda is the way that she is, and tries to bring out other things in her, like thinking more deeply about things, and really tries to bring out the best in her, I think. As I said, all around them, the oppression of the animals is very obvious and in the open. We see Dr. Dillman get murdered, so here he's not just taken away, he's actually murdered, and Madame Morrible is a key figure in trying to cover this up and influencing the people that know what has happened. She uses some kind of witchcraft, I'm not sure, to like try to manipulate Galinda, Elphaba and Nessa, manipulate their minds, stating quite direct that they want them to be spies for the wizard. And Elphaba seems to be the one who can resist this the most, so that feels like it's in line with the character from the movie and the show. Since things are a bit more obvious, Glinda seems to grasp what is going on and she's contemplating it a lot. But it also seems like she feels very closed in and like she's contemplating it in a panicky sort of way. Like she's trapped and doesn't really know how to get out of it or handle it or which way she should go. And that seems very consistent with how we see the character in the show and the movie. You can really feel that she's changing. She's looking at her former friends in a different way, seeing them in a different light, and really seeking out and wanting a proper friendship with Elphaba, even though she's still torn between what she's taught and brought up in and how she thinks. Like Glinda in the book is like, she comes into a lecture, I think it is, like earlier than anyone else, just to select out where she can sit so that the light will come in a good angle and show her features in the best way and stuff like that. She's very calculated in how she's trying to make other people perceive her, and that feels very consistent as well with how we see her, how we're used to her in the show. It's like she's very torn between that and this new self. When she's changing and looking at these things with open eyes, it kind of seems like she wants to shut them again. I'm gonna read you a part from the book so you'll see what I mean. So Elphaba is talking about what is going and has been going on in Munchkinland, where she's from, and she's going into how it's been very rough weather conditions that has brought on this drought and how it's affecting the people that live there. And then it says, the animals are recalled to the lands of their ancestors, a ploy to give the farmers a sense of control over something anyway. It's a systematic marginalizing of populations, Glinda, and that's what the wizard's all about. And Glinda's answer to this is so clear to me that she doesn't really want to discuss this. She says, we were talking about your childhood. Like, she wants to close her eyes to this, and Elphaba just won't let her. So as I said, in Act 1 in the show, you have this big reveal about the wizard and Madame Morrible, and you get defying gravity and Elphaba breaking loose from this innocence of childhood almost that the wizard will fix things and work it out, you know? And in the book, as I've said, it's a whole different story. Nothing makes that clearer than when we come to Emerald City. There's no animals anywhere to be seen, and it also seems that marginalized groups and smaller groups like the Munchkinlanders and people from other areas are very much living in poverty, and yeah, it just paints a totally different picture than One Short Day in the Emerald City. Also, wonderful number in the movie, in the first movie. Like, again, a shout out to the ensemble. Oh my god. But like, very, very different. So we continue on with this as the show does its own thing, sort of. And I get it, it would be a much darker show if it was depicted in the same way that we see Oz in the book. And I mean, we love all that comedy in Act 1. It's great, and it is, in my opinion, the stronger act of the two. It has so many good songs as well, and you have that undertone of something going on, but you're still not sure who's behind it and what is actually happening, whilst here it's just like very direct. One little nod from the book in the movie was the scenes with them on like the meadow with a big tree, where we see them as a friend group, because we get that a lot more in the book, and I really like that. I really like that nod, and then having the nod in the ending to the show, to the stage productions poster, with Glinda whispering in Elphaba's ear. Really, really loved those little Easter eggs. Getting glimpses of them as a friend group also, I think, gave even more weight to Glinda's grief when she says goodbye to Nessa. I thought that was quite nice, because like they were actual friends, and we feel that a little bit more. We got a little bit of the comedy in the fighting scene, which I felt was needed. And as I said, the Act 2 of the show is a lot darker than the first one, a bit heavier, and yeah, so that lifted it up a little bit. Also loved that they made Wonderful into a trio, because I felt that it should be Glinda that tries to convince Elphaba and not just the wizard, because Glinda's the one that she has a deep bond with and that she would trust out of the two. So I thought that was a really nice addition. So the show's Act 2 is a lot darker, but I feel that they've Disneyfied the movie a little bit, probably to make it like kids friendly, but hey, not a huge fan of that, but what can you do? I did like the scene after the fighting, where Fiyero sacrifices himself to save Elphaba, and the little interaction between Glinda and Fiyero, and that it's Glinda who shouts Fiyero, going into no good deed. And then getting the black and white shots in No Good Deed of what's happening to Fiyero. I thought that was really effectful. I liked with the movie that they continued on with the animal plotline till the end, and that it didn't just fade out as it does in the stage production. Yeah, so I think that has to be it for now. I have to get ready. I want to talk more about the characters. I'm gonna finish the book, of course. I have less than 100 pages left now, but time to get ready, and I'll see you later. So I got home yesterday, and I was actually just so exhausted. I took a nap that I don't know, it was so long that it might not even be able to be considered a nap, but so I didn't film anything yesterday. But let's continue our talk about the book, movie, show, all of it. You still got my little notes here. Where did we leave off? Oh yeah, let's dive into some character talks. And I want to start with Bach, actually, because I think Ethan Slater did such an incredible job with this character. It was just one of the high points of this movie, actually. And I think they gave him and Nessa more to work with than what we see in the show, because it's all moving so fast. If I remember correctly, in the show it's hinted that there's a travel ban, but in the movie we actually get to see the travel ban being put in place and how it prevents Bach from leaving her. We also see more of her crueler side in the movie that is hinted right from the start when her character is introduced in the book. And when I was watching the movie, I was immediately reminded about Glinda's first impression of Nessa, that she has like a superior trait, like she has the potential to lean more that way as a person, given the right circumstances, or wrong. Well, and I mean, they did some really amazing casting choices in this movie, and I really like that they changed Elphaba not helping her to walk as it is in the stage production, but trying to lift her spirits in other way by making her fly. I really like that change. And we also get the little Easter eggs with the ruby slippers. Now, speaking of casting, I love Michelle Yeoh. I think she could have done an amazing job with this role had it not been a singing role. But if you have to cut part of songs just because the actor can't sing it, then maybe you should cast someone that can actually sing. I mean, it is a musical, and I get having big names and stuff like that, but there are big names that could sing this role. Same with diversity. I loved with this movie that they had a lot of people who could sing and could do the roles. I would have loved if they had taken that all the way. We need more of that in musical theater movies, in my opinion. Moving on to the big three, Glinda, Elphaba, and Fiyero. Now, there are some similarities in the books, but also wild differences, like Fiyero's appearance, for example. In the book, he has like diamond-shaped things painted on him in blue, some sort of tradition from his home region. So that's very different. He's also very shy. They mention in the beginning when we meet him. But he and Elphaba does have an affair. It goes on for quite some time. He has a wife, so there's a big difference. He also has kids. And Elphaba and Fiyero actually have a child together, but the child has no idea they are his parents, and Fiyero's not around for obvious reasons. And Elphaba doesn't really seem to acknowledge that the kid is actually hers. So I don't know what's gonna happen with that. Glinda is very absent in the books. She is more present in the movie than she is in the stage production as well. So, and I get that they wanted to give both Cynthia and Ariana more to do, hence why they got a song each. At the end of the book now, and we have come back to what I mentioned before, this meeting that Nessa, Elphaba, and Glinda had with Madame Morrible, that she put kind of like a spell on them, and Elphaba is trying to talk to Nessa about it, and she's very like, I don't know, no, that's probably not what actually happened, you're so over da-da-da. And this is just Hesa Fredrik. We'll just wait that out, I guess. I'm actually curious to see where they're gonna take this with the little Madame Morrible spell. It's gonna be interesting to see. So one of the best things with this movie, I would say, is the journey of the characters. We see so much character development, and I think that's where the heart lives as well in this story. We can move on to the sets, because I want to say that I really like most of the sets, and I feel that the world is very vibrant and it feels very lived in. I liked how we got to see how they built the yellow brick road. In the book, it's already there straight away. But you can also draw a parallel to our own history with enslaved people forced to build all these big buildings and monuments and stuff. I mean, the world doesn't feel as dark as it does in the book, but I mean, the oppression and the inequalities is very much there straight away in the book, so I guess that makes sense. You also have that contrast in the show and the movie of all these vibrant colors, this like fun and exciting, like when they come to the Emerald City, and then that it's not really real. So I kind of like that. So talking a little bit about the ending. In the end, the Grimoire opens for Glinda in the movie. She doesn't have any real powers. Why is it doing that? Why is it happening now? In the book, we first encounter the Grimoire for real when Elphaba finds it in Kyomoko, where she is a guest to Fiero's widow. It's described as letters floating together when you try to read it, and I'm quoting, "The page was changing its mind as they watched." It does feel like the Grimoire has a mind of its own, and maybe it's the Grimoire that's chosen who it's gonna open for, and not someone having like special powers for it to open. So maybe in the movie it has to do with your intentions and your heart and who you are, maybe. Because Glinda has been very focused before on her dream of how she wants to be perceived by others, not really maybe doing the right thing, regardless of how other people will see that, whilst Elphaba just wants to do the right thing. And I've thought about this a lot. I think that a lot of us love Elphaba because we want to be Elphaba. We want to be the ones that in a crisis or when something happens, we will stand up and say what's right. But I think that a lot of us actually are Glinda. It's not always as easy to go against everyone else and speaking up. It's also built within us to get along for survival. So I think that is what's holding a lot of people back as well. But in the end, Glinda is doing the right thing, and maybe that's why the Grimoire is finally opening up to her. It changed its mind about making itself accessible to her. I want to talk a little bit about expectations. I had very low expectations for the first movie because I wanted to like protect myself because I love the show so much. So if I didn't love the movie, at least I didn't have very high hopes. But then that first movie was so incredibly good that I had very high hopes for the second one that wasn't quite met, I think. Talking about the book and the movie / show, I feel that this is one of those cases where they're actually just doing their own thing. I have been comparing, and I see that they've taken some bits and pieces from the book and put it in the movie, and I really like that, but they're also very different. And for me then, it's not like, oh, the book is better or the movie is better, because they're really doing their own thing. So yeah, I think that's what I have to say about that. Let me go grab the book. Okay, let's see. I'm on page 342, and there are 406 pages in this book. I am on the last section of this book, the last part, so not that much left. So yeah, let's start reading. Oh, and I totally forgot, so the flying monkeys in the book, Elphaba sews on the wings to the monkeys, and they're just like very all right anyway. So that's not animal cruelty then? I don't know. It seems pretty weird to me. One thing that really strikes me in this book is the way that people are just accepting the way that things are, and know how people doesn't want to, speak ill of the wizard for risk of repercussions. People in power can also depict you in a way that makes you take the blame for things in other people's eyes, and those themes or topics are just too relevant. Something I've been thinking about a lot in this book, reading this book. I finished the book. Okay, so how did I like it? Well, I like the show better, but as I said before, they are their own thing. I felt as a book that it was very mysterious. It feels like it has a lot of like hidden things underneath the surface. Like the reference in the movie where they say, wait, a clock tick. They say a clock tick a lot. So there's something in here called the time dragon, and it feels like there's some kind of prophecy and foreshadowing, and but it's not quite clear, at least to me. It touches on some really important subjects like oppression, racism, good and evil. What is evil and what is good? Talk about that in a very philosophical way, but also addresses it underneath the surface. I know that the show and the movie is a lot about Glinda's and Elphaba's friendship, which is depicted rather differently here, but I feel that the book actually is about friendships and friends that we make in our youth, and growing up and looking at each other in the same way as we did when we were young, but we are also very different people. I think that it addresses that in a way, and also looking at your childhood and things in retrospect, but also how things just keep repeating themselves. So it has a lot of big themes, and I like it, and I like the philosophical way, and I like that they talked about evil in the end of the book, and it does end quite differently. You can find little bits and pieces in here that you see are then lifted out of the context of this particular story and reshaped into the stage version, and then later into the movie. A very weird experience, I would say, but I also liked it as well. But I do like the musical better. Okay, so editing me just wants to jump in here and add a couple of stuff that I felt I forgot to talk about. So yeah, Bach doesn't turn into the Tin Man. Fiyero doesn't become the Scarecrow. It's hinted that she thinks he might be the Scarecrow, but doesn't seem that way. Yeah, I think that the show ties it up kind of neatly and weaves in this story even more with the Wizard of Oz and getting us these characters that we really know becoming the Tin Man and Scarecrow instead of some random guy. Also, we never really got a definitive answer if Madame Orble's spell were working in the background. And I mean, that could be part of the mystery. Maybe you just make up your own mind. It's hard to tell. I'm not sure myself. Not much changed with Fiyero and Elphaba's son. I don't know. But those were a couple of things that I talked about in the video that I felt that I didn't follow up on properly. And so my verdict for the movie is that I did like the first one better. I felt that the magic wasn't really present in the same way in the second movie. If you felt the same way, please give me a comment and just let me know why you think that is, because I'm very curious to hear your opinion. I've also seen some people going on about that you can't really compare the two movies But I'm like, why not? Because it's Act 1 and Act 2. I can say that I like Act 1 better than Act 2. This is not like a sequel in the same way as it is with other movies. This is a full story in 2 parts. It's not a sequel. It's the same story. It's the same show. I think it makes sense to compare them as well, because I would like to feel the same magic throughout the show, you know? Okay, round it up, Linnea. I did enjoy the book, but it was very different. It really did its own thing. In a way, I'm sort of glad that that's the case, because then I can love the show for what it is, you know? I would love to know if you agree with me on any of my points, or even more fun, if you disagree, then I would love to hear your arguments and your opinions, and we can chat about it in the comments. Thank you for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one.